What if I told you that inside you there's a power so great it can expel hypocrisy, lovelessness, and everything weighing you down from your life? It's not a trick. It's not an empty promise. It's a secret that Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists in history, discovered by exploring the depths of the human soul. And today, we're going to unravel it together. Imagine this. You're trapped in a relationship that drains you, pretending to be someone you're not just to fit in. Or maybe chasing a dream that doesn't even excite you because it's what's expected. Jung would say you're not living. You're surviving, disconnected from your true essence. But there's a way out, and it starts with loving yourself enough to listen to what your inner self has been screaming at you all this time. Carl Jung wasn't just any man. This Swiss, born in 1875, revolutionized how we understand the mind. While others focused on the superficial, he dove into the deep, the unconscious, that hidden ocean within us, holding our rawest truths and brightest possibilities. He believed we're not here just to follow rules or please others, but to discover who we truly are and live from there. That discovery isn't easy, but it's transformative. Have you ever felt lost, like something's missing even though everything seems fine? Jung would say that's not a coincidence. It's your unconscious calling you, begging you to wake up. Let's talk straight. We've all been there. Think of that time you said yes when you wanted to scream no. Maybe it was with your partner who asked for more time while you felt empty, or that friend who always criticizes your plans, but you stick around out of habit. In Mexico, we say, better the devil you know than the angel you don't. But Jung would say clinging to the familiar only pulls you away from the authentic. Or maybe if you're in Colombia, you felt the weight of what will people say, staying in a job you hate because it's safe. And in the United States, maybe they've sold you the American dream of working nonstop, putting your passions on hold. Wherever you are, Jung's message is universal. When you betray yourself, your life fills with hypocrisy and lovelessness. But when you love yourself enough, everything changes. Let's stop for a second. Breathe. Does this resonate with you? If it does, stick with me because this is just the beginning. Jung discovered that our unconscious doesn't speak with words but with symbols, emotions, and those gut feelings we sometimes ignore. For example, imagine Laura, a 32-year-old woman in Guadalajara. She's been in a perfect relationship for years. Her boyfriend's attentive. Everyone says he's a catch. But every night, Laura feels a knot in her stomach. She doesn't know why, but something's off. Or think of Daniel, a 40-year-old man in Miami with a good office job. But every morning he wakes up with an emptiness he can't explain. Jung would say those signals aren't noise, they're messages. The unconscious is whispering. He called it the dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious. Consciousness is what you actively think. I should stay in this relationship because I've invested so much time, or I can't leave this job because I need the money. But the unconscious is wiser. It speaks through that unease, that intuition you can't ignore. And here's Jung's first big gift. When you learn to listen to those signals, you start to truly love yourself. It's not about selfishness, it's about respect for your energy, your time, and your essence. But it's not all pretty at first. Jung also talked about the shadow, a key term in his work. The shadow is that part of you that you hide, your fears, your flaws, the things you don't want anyone to see. For example, Laura might be suppressing her desire to be alone because she fears being judged as selfish. Daniel might be hiding his passion for music because he's ashamed to leave a serious job. The shadow isn't bad, it's human, but if you ignore it, it rebels. It sneaks into your fights with your partner, that anger you feel when someone criticizes you, or that sense that something's wrong even when everything seems perfect. Think about this as a moment of reflection. What are you hiding from yourself? Maybe it's that dream you let go of because someone said it wasn't realistic, or that relationship you hold on to out of fear of loneliness. Jung would say the shadow doesn't go away. It grows in the dark. But here's the secret. When you face it, when you dare to look at it, it stops controlling you. And that act of courage is the first step to loving yourself enough to let go of what doesn't serve you. Let's pause here. If this is touching your heart, leave a comment below and tell me what signal you've been ignoring. You're not just helping me, you're inspiring others who are reading. And if you want more, subscribe and turn on the bell, because this journey with Jung is just beginning. We're going to keep exploring how loving yourself can transform your relationships and your entire life. Now imagine you're standing at a crossroads, like in those childhood stories. One path is full of lights, noise, and people telling you what to do. Stay in that relationship, keep that job, don't take risks. The other is dark, quiet, a little scary. Jung would say the lit path is the trap of comfort, and the dark one is where you find your truth. It's not easy to choose it. Sometimes the fear of the unknown paralyzes us. But here's a practice. The next time you feel that intuition, that little voice saying, "This isn't for me," don't ignore it. Write down what you feel. Just grab a notebook and jot down, "What is my inner self asking of me?" It's a small step, but Jung would say it's the start of something huge. Let's go back to Laura and Daniel. Laura started noticing that her relationship took more than it gave. Every time she was with her boyfriend, she felt drained, like she had to act to keep him happy. Daniel realized his job was dimming him. He'd come home with no energy to play his guitar, something that used to fill him with life. Both were letting their energy, that sacred fuel Jung valued so much, drain away. And here's the point. Your energy isn't infinite. If you give it to people or situations that don't nourish you, you end up empty. Jung taught us that protecting your energy is an act of self-love. It's not about being rude or cutting everyone out of your life. It's discernment, knowing which relationships lift you up and which sink you. Before we move on, I'll take a moment to tell you my book is now available. It's full of tips and techniques to help you overcome emotional blocks and love yourself more. Find the link in the description and the pinned comment. Let's continue. Imagine Anna, a 35-year-old mother in Bogota. She always says yes to everyone, her boss, her friends, her family. But one day, exhausted, she asked herself, "What do I want?" She started setting boundaries. "No, I can't help with that today." At first it was awkward, but then she felt something new, peace. Or think of Miguel, a 42-year-old man in Los Angeles, who stopped hanging out with friends who only criticized him. Suddenly, he had time to paint, something he'd loved since childhood. See the pattern? When you love yourself enough, you start letting go of what weighs you down. Here's another pause. Reflect. Who or what is draining your energy? You don't have to answer out loud, but if you want, share it in the comments. I'd love to know how you're connecting with this. And if this message is moving you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we can take this transformation further. So what happens when you start protecting your energy? Something magical. Your unconscious notices. Jung would say it's like sending a letter to your soul that says, "I matter." And when your unconscious gets that message, lovelessness and hypocrisy start to fade. Not because the world changes overnight, but because you change. You stop tolerating fake relationships, jobs that dim you, or dreams that aren't yours. Laura, for example, ended her relationship. It wasn't easy, but letting go brought a relief she didn't expect. Daniel quit his job and started teaching guitar. He's not a millionaire, but he says he finally feels alive. This isn't empty theory, it's real, and Jung knew it. He said the unconscious always seeks balance. When you align with your truth, when you love yourself enough, the universe responds. The right people come, opportunities appear, and that sense of something's missing fades. But don't get it wrong. This takes courage. Letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. And that choice is the first step to expelling everything from your life that doesn't reflect you. Let's take another short pause. If you're feeling this, give the video a like. It's a way of saying, yes, I'm ready to love myself more. And stick with me, because in the next part, we're going to dive even deeper into how the relationships you choose can mirror your self-love, according to Jung. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you is ready to keep exploring how loving yourself enough can change everything. In the last part, we talked about how choosing yourself, listening to your unconscious, and protecting your energy starts to clear your life of hypocrisy and lovelessness. But now let's go deeper with Carl Jung and his ideas. Because it's not just about letting go of what doesn't serve you, it's about understanding how the relationships you have with your partner, your friends, your family, even yourself, are a direct reflection of how much you value yourself. Get ready because this is going to hit you in a way you don't expect. Jung had a powerful idea. Everything you experience outside is an echo of what's happening inside. He called this projection. In simple terms, it means the people around you, the ones you love or the ones who drive you crazy, are like mirrors showing you parts of yourself. Have you ever met someone who irritates you so much you don't understand why? Maybe it's that friend who's always late and drives you nuts, or that coworker who seems competitive all the time. Jung would say it's not a coincidence. What bothers you about them is something within, something you haven't accepted or have hidden in your shadow. Let's use a concrete example. Imagine Sophia, a 28-year-old woman in Medellin. She has a friend, Clara, who's always talking about her achievements. I just bought this. I got promoted at work. Sophia feels drained after seeing her, and though she won't admit it, there's a sting of envy. Jung would say Clara isn't the problem. She's a mirror. Sophia is projecting her own insecurity, that part of her that feels she hasn't achieved enough. Or think of Juan, a 37-year-old man in Mexico City who gets frustrated with his partner because she never says what she feels. But if Juan looks honestly, he realizes he represses his emotions too. How does it work? Relationships are a reflection of your inner world. Here's a moment of reflection. Think of someone who gets under your skin. What bothers you most about them? Now be honest, is there a bit of that in you too? You don't have to answer now, but note it in your mind or a notebook. Jung would say this exercise is like turning on a light in your shadow. And when you understand that, you start loving yourself more because you stop blaming the world and take responsibility for your growth. But it's not all about the negative. Relationships also reflect what you love about yourself. Think of those people who inspire you, who make you feel alive. Maybe it's that friend who always encourages you to chase your dreams, or that partner who listens without judging. Jung would say they reflect the parts of you you've already embraced, your creativity, your strength, your kindness. For example, Maria, a 45-year-old woman in Los Angeles, has a sister who always supports her wild ideas, like opening a bakery. Maria says being with her makes her feel unstoppable. That's not magic. It's Maria seeing her own potential through her sister. So here's Jung's big message. Your relationships aren't accidents. They're a map of how you treat yourself. If you're surrounded by people who criticize you, drain you, or make you feel small, it's not bad luck. It's a sign you're not loving yourself enough to set boundaries or seek better. But if your relationships lift you up, challenge you to grow, and make you feel authentic, it's because you've started aligning with your truth. Let's take a short pause. What does your life say right now? Look around. Your friends, your partner, your colleagues. Do they reflect self-love or sacrifice? If you want, share it in the comments. I'd love to know how you're connecting with this. And if this message is moving you, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. This isn't just a video, it's a conversation that can change lives. Now let's talk about something we've all experienced. Those relationships that seem destined to fail, where everything is struggle, misunderstandings, and an exhaustion you can't explain. Jung would say they're not punishments from the universe. They're invitations from your unconscious to look at yourself. Think of Carla, a 30-year-old woman in Monterey. She's been with her partner for 2 years, but every conversation ends in an argument. He just doesn't get me, she says. But one day, exhausted, she asked herself, why am I still here? The answer surprised her. She was holding on out of fear of being alone. Or imagine Luis, a 39-year-old man in Bogota, who has a boss who constantly criticizes him. Luis tries harder, but nothing changes, until he realized he was repeating a childhood pattern, seeking approval where he'd never find it. Jung invites us to see these obstacles as signals. When a relationship is a constant push and pull, it's not your job to fix it. It's your unconscious telling you, this isn't aligned with who you are. And here's a practical action. The next time you're in a situation that wears you out, ask yourself, do I feel more like myself or less like myself here? If the answer is less me, Jung would say it's time to let go. Not with drama, not with resentment, but with self-love. Letting go isn't easy, I know. In Mexico, we're taught to tough it out. In Colombia, to push through even if it hurts. And in the United States, to never give up. But Jung would say letting go isn't giving up, it's freeing yourself. And when you do, something incredible happens. Your energy changes. Carla, after ending her relationship, started painting again, something she dropped for lack of time. Luis quit his job and found one where he's valued. It wasn't instant, but both say the same thing. I feel free. And if you could feel that too? Another pause here. Reflect. What are you holding on to out of fear? A relationship, a job, an idea of who you should be? If this is hitting you, leave a comment below. Your words don't just inspire me, they inspire everyone watching this. And if you want more, subscribe and turn on the bell. We're going to keep unraveling how Jung can help you live better. Now let's talk about what happens when you align with your truth. Jung had another fascinating concept, synchronicity. It's when things start falling into place almost magically. It's not luck. It's the universe responding to your self-love. For example, after Carla let go of her relationship, she met someone new in an art class, someone who encourages her to be herself. Luis, after switching jobs, found a colleague who shares his love for movies, and now they're planning a project together. Jung would call this synchronicity in action. When you love yourself enough, you attract what resonates with you. But beware, this doesn't happen if you keep pretending, if you betray yourself, if you stay in relationships or situations that dim you. The universe has no room to work. Think of Rosa, a 50-year-old woman in Chicago. She spent years in a marriage where she felt invisible. It's my duty, she said. Until one day, inspired by a Jung book, she decided to divorce. Months later, she started giving cooking workshops, something she'd always wanted to do, and now has friends who truly see her. Or think of Andres, a 34-year-old man in Cali who left a toxic friend group. Suddenly, he started crossing paths with people who motivate him to grow. That's synchronicity. That's loving yourself enough. Here's another practical action. Make a quick inventory. Write down 3 relationships in your life right now. Next to each, note, I feel more authentic or less authentic with this person. If there's more or less, you don't have to cut everything today, but start asking yourself, what do I need to change? Jung would say this simple act of reflection is like planting a seed for your transformation. Pause again. If this is clicking for you, give the video a like and share it. Imagine how many people could wake up with this message. And stick with me, because in the next part, we're going to wrap up this journey with Jung, exploring how your dreams and purpose fit into all this. If you've made it this far, it's because you're in on this journey, and I love that we're in it together. We just saw how relationships mirror how much you love yourself, and how letting go of what doesn't reflect you opens the door to synchronicity. That magical phenomenon Jung described where the universe seems to align with you. Now let's close this path with something even more powerful. How loving yourself enough not only expels hypocrisy and lovelessness, but reconnects you with your dreams and purpose. Because for Jung, life isn't about surviving, it's about flourishing from your most authentic essence. Let's talk about those dreams you once had, the ones that made your eyes light up, but that you left in a corner over time. Maybe you wanted to write a book, travel the world, or simply have peace to be yourself without masks. Jung believed those dreams aren't whims. They're messages from your unconscious, clues to what your soul needs to feel whole. But sometimes the people around us or the voices in our heads dim them. Think of Elena, a 38-year-old woman in Tijuana. She dreamed of being a photographer, but her family said, that doesn't pay the bills. So she stayed in an office job, fading little by little. Or imagine Carlos, a 43-year-old man in New York who wanted to open a cafe, but his friends mocked him. At your age, his dreams blurred. Jung would say that when you abandon your dreams, you don't just betray yourself, you let lovelessness and hypocrisy in. Because living a life that isn't yours is the biggest lie you can tell yourself. But here's the good news. It's never too late to return to them. Elena, tired of feeling empty, started taking photos on weekends. She didn't quit her job right away, but she says she can finally breathe. Carlos started saving for his cafe, ignoring the criticism. Jung would call this individuation, the process of becoming who you really are, without masks or excuses. Pause for a second. Breathe. What dream have you let go of? It doesn't matter if it seems impossible now, just think about it. If you want, share it in the comments. I'd love to know what moves you, and your words might inspire someone else to wake up. Now, why is it so hard to return to those dreams? Because fear is a fierce guard. In Mexico, we say, better a bird in hand than one flying. In Colombia, don't trade the sure thing for the uncertain. And in the United States, stick to the plan, don't stray. But Jung would say fear is part of your shadow, and facing it is what sets you free. When you love yourself enough, that fear stops being a wall and becomes a challenge. Think of how it feels when you take a step towards something that excites you, even if you tremble. That mix of nerves and joy is your unconscious saying, yes, this is the way. Here's a practical action. Pick a dream you've let go of. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe it's learning to dance, painting, or just saying no more often. This week, take a small step toward it. If it's dancing, find a YouTube video. If it's painting, buy a cheap brush. Jung would say these acts are like whispers to your unconscious. I'm ready to be me. And when you do, you'll notice something. The people who don't support your dreams will start drifting away on their own, and the ones who do will draw closer. Let's talk about that. Your relationships and your dreams are connected. Jung believed the people we choose to keep close shape our psyche. If you're surrounded by people who doubt you, who say that can't be done, your unconscious absorbs it. But if you surround yourself with those who push you to grow, everything changes. Think of Julia, a 33-year-old woman in Barranquilla. She wanted to study psychology, but her partner said, "Why bother? You already have a job." That noise dimmed her until she left him and enrolled in classes. Suddenly, she met a friend who motivated her to keep going. Or think of Roberto, a 46-year-old man in Houston who dreamed of running a marathon. His old friends laughed, but when he started training, he found a group that supported him. Now he's months away from his goal. Pause again. Look at your circle. Who inspires you to be more you? Who dims you? If you want, share it below. And if this message is moving you, give it a like and pass it to someone who needs this push. Together, we can wake more people up. Now let's talk about something Jung loved, chaos. Because sometimes reconnecting with your dreams and purpose comes wrapped in messiness. Maybe you lose a job, end a relationship, or feel everything crumbling. Jung would say, don't be afraid. He saw chaos as the start of order. Think of Mariana, a 41-year-old woman in Puebla. She lost her job and felt lost. But in that crisis, she started writing, something she'd always wanted to do. Today, she has a blog thousands read. Or imagine Diego, a 35-year-old man in Miami, who after a divorce started meditating and discovered he wanted to help others as a therapist. Chaos isn't the end. It's the birth of something new. Jung said there's no awakening without pain, but that pain isn't to punish you. It's to purify you. It's the fire that burns away what you're not, leaving space for what you are. So the next time you feel chaos, don't run. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Write down the answer. Jung would say that reflection is pure gold. Short pause. Reflect. What chaos have you faced that changed you? If you're up for it, leave it in the comments. And subscribe if you haven't. Turn on the bell to catch when we keep exploring these ideas. So what happens when you love yourself enough to embrace your dreams and face the chaos? You live from your authenticity. Jung believed life's purpose isn't to be happy all the time, but to be whole. And wholeness comes when you stop pretending, when you drop the mask and say, this is me. Think of how it feels when you're with someone who accepts you as you are, or when you do something you love without asking permission. That's individuation. That's truly loving yourself. But this isn't just for you. When you live this way, you inspire. In Mexico, Colombia, the United States, wherever, the world needs authentic people. Your courage to be you gives others permission to be themselves. Imagine Anna, a 29-year-old woman in Cali who left a toxic job and now teaches yoga. Her students say, if she could, so can I. Or Pedro, a 50-year-old man in San Diego who started singing in public after years of shame. Now his son sees him and says, I want to be brave like Dad. Last pause. Think, What could you gain if you dared to be you? And who could you inspire? Share it below if you want, and give a like if this is lighting something up inside you. Let's wrap up. Jung left us a gift, the idea that everything you need is already in you. Loving yourself enough expels hypocrisy and lovelessness because it aligns you with your truth. Listen to your unconscious, face your shadow, protect your energy, choose relationships that reflect you, and chase your dreams. It won't be perfect, but it'll be real. And that's what matters. Quick recap. Pick a dream this week and take a step toward it. Look at your relationships and let go of one that dims you. Write what you feel when chaos hits. Do this, and you'll see your life change. The universe responds when you love yourself. Jung knew it, and now you do too. Last call. If this hit you, share this video. Someone out there needs it. Leave a comment with what you're taking away or what you'll change. Your words make this grow. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and stick with me on this journey. Thanks for being here. Remember, the change starts with you, and the world needs your light. See you soon. I'll be waiting.